Hi, welcome to Gasgoo C Talk. Today we are very glad to have Mr. Patrick KATENKAMP, the CEO of A2MAC1, as our guest. Founded in 1997, A2MAC1 is the world's leading provider of automotive benchmarking data and insights. Its product portfolio includes benchmarking and analysis data, cost and insights services, and software solutions. A2MAC1 is dedicated to turning data into deep insights, helping OEMs and suppliers stay ahead of industry trends and optimize decision-making. Today, we will having an in-depth discussion with Mr. KATENKAMP on key topics, like the evolution of the global automotive industry, the direction of the technical innovation, and how A2MAC1 is empowering the automotive industry. Stay tuned. Patrick, congratulations on your new position as the CEO of A2MAC1.
Thank you. I'm excited to be back here in Shanghai and see you again. And yeah, it's an exciting new job and it's a great opportunity to take A2MAC1 forward. And yeah, I think I have spent my whole life in the automotive industry around the software business. So I think A2MAC1 is a great sweet spot to take forward. And I'm very excited to build the team and take A2MAC1 to the next level.
Can you share with us the latest achievements A2MAC1 met?
I think there are a couple of things. I mean, we increased our center here in Shanghai, where we will talk about. We built another teardown center in Mexico. We launched a couple of new products where we will talk about. So I think there's a lot going on. And obviously on the AI side, we are also progressing.
At the end of last month, A2MAC1 actually launched a library about the cost and the sustainability. So can you tell us more about that library?
Yeah, I mean, our main core product is in the benchmarking area, and we have the largest automotive database in the world. And I think one element which obviously was missing is if you benchmark different car modules, parts, designs, is the cost. You want to know what does it make for difference if I make this decision, or whether I use this supplier or that supplier. And now we added the cost into the library and the CO2 footprint, so you have all the data in the same application.
How can your customer leverage the ability of the library?
I mean, in a lot of multiple ways, but I think if you imagine you are an engineer, you design a certain product, then you can have quickly a look into how did Tesla do that? What's the difference between BYD, how they are putting the seats on the battery, or like Tesla is doing it directly on the battery pack? What's the advantages? What are the disadvantages? You can have a look how VW is doing that. And I think you save a lot of engineering time during that, and you can make much faster decisions early in the design process where you can save a lot of cost.
How many cars already you have tailed down?
In total, 1,500 cars.
Wow.
And we add another 70 cars per year where we think these are the most trendy, most innovative cars into the library. And obviously there are a lot of Chinese EV cars at the moment getting added.
Because more and more, I think more and more companies will focus on the trend of the EV, and obviously Chinese companies are in a leading position.
Yeah, I think there is a lot of focus on EV, and I think yes, there was a bit of discussion on hybrids again, but the trend is EV, and it's a bit of range extension, but engineering wise and from a design perspective and vehicle launch, the focus is on EV cars, and I think China is there ahead of the game, and the others are trying to catch up.
And what's the biggest technical challenge you may be facing during the data connecting and analysis process?
Yeah, I think one thing which makes us very different to a lot of other companies in the world is there are a lot of companies who do teardowns, but I think to the level of detail as we do that, taking a car into 2,500 parts, measuring what material it is, what steel it is, how thick it is. For example, the wire harness. We know how many meters of cable are in there, what's the difference between a Tesla and a BYD. And I think one thing we do very different than everybody else is we do that very consistently for every car. And it's the same, doesn't matter whether it's in Mexico, in China, or in France. And in this way, we build a digital twin of that car, which the engineers then can use for their future designs.
How can you guarantee the real-time data accuracy?
I mean, at first we have a global cloud platform. So, I mean, you see immediately what is in there, and it's a way how we load the data, and that's 28 years of experience we have in that business, and where we have perfectionized the processes around that.
A2MAC1 also have a 3D technology platform.
Yeah.
Tell us more about that.
I mean, that's the core of our, let's say, platform, where you have the 3D digital twin, where every part in the car is scanned 3D, and where you can then overlay parts and compare different parts in a 3D, let's say, model. And I mean, one thing what we are doing also now, you can use the 3D models also, for example, for crash test simulations, for aerodynamic simulations, and we work there with a couple of specialized partners together.
Is that really complicated? I mean,
yeah, it is.
For every parts?
Yeah, I mean, if you imagine you have 2,500 parts, you need to get a 3D model of every part. You need to understand how these are fitting together, how they are assembled, so that you can put them in and out. And it's a quite complex process. I think it took many years to get it to that level.
Customers love that, right?
Yeah.
Can you give us some best practice how to help your customer optimizing their design or material selection?
Yeah, I think there, for example, we have customers who use our platform for our data, but they put also their own data into our platform to then compare their cost analysis with our cost analysis, their teardown data with our teardown data, and making there the right engineering decisions very early. Because also what you said before with the EV and the competition in China, I think the time you have to bring a car to the market is much, much shorter than in the past.
Yes.
So, and they usually have less engineers than in the past, so they need to make much quicker decisions early in the process, and they don't have the time like in the, 10 years ago or 15 years ago.
Right.
And I think that's where we can support them in making very quickly the right decisions and saving a lot of cost.
We see the trend you just mentioned, because the average process of a new EV launch in China, probably 18 months.
Yeah.
Much shorter than the traditional OEM did before.
And I think it's also, I was joking a bit when we were with some companies like Xiaomi or Huawei, and which are coming more from the consumer goods mobile phone.
Yes.
They think in 6 months product cycles.
Yes.
And then you have the automotive industry who thinks in 5 years.
Yeah.
And now these two worlds are clashing, and I think that is a big transformational challenge for the classic OEMs.
Yes, they will learn from each other and then make a compromise.
Yeah, I think they will drive the transformation in the industry, and they will challenge the classic OEMs in the way how they think and how they have done things.
Yeah.
And there will be a big change, and some will make it and others will not make it.
Yes, of course, AI actually attract a lot of attention because it's shaping the society, every organization, every single people. So from your point of view, what AI bring the impact to the automotive industry?
Yeah, I think there are two things to it. One, it will bring a massive change into the industry. I think at the moment people are seeing more the large language models, some change how you interact things, how you can interact with the solution or ask questions. I think on the engineering side and driving engineering solutions, we are just in the beginning. And a lot of people are talking about AI.
Yeah.
They are not the breakthrough solutions now, but we almost, with a lot of the OEMs, we do pilot projects at the moment together with some startups. And there is a lot of experiments which are going in the right direction. And we did now just one thing for like searching for commonality parts, for comparing cars from one generation to the next, how much change is there, how much innovation is there. And that works quite well. And there are some ideas we have to bring forward, and we will also announce in the next week a partnership we will do on the AI side. But I think until you have really ready-made products, it will take probably another year and a half, but things will accelerate.
Does A2MAC1 leverage AI to enhance your competitiveness?
Yeah, I mean, it's for us, I think AI, the value is around data. We are the ones who owns the biggest automotive database, so we need to leverage that. And I think if you talk to the customers, and I met a lot of customers over the last months, what they are saying is, as we said before, the cycle times getting shorter, we need to make quicker decisions, so we need intelligence in your solutions which recommend us where can we save costs, where can we make better design decisions. And that's something where we will implement AI in helping the engineers to guide them, to give them the right decisions or advices in that direction.
You mean the engineer can use the agent directly?
Yeah.
And you will digging the data, demanding the data?
For training the agents, and then they can work with an agent. So, for example, asking or the agent, I mean, can I find a similar part? Is there another supplier who has a similar part? Can I do that more cost efficient in this direction?
Yeah.
But I think there will be not one big AI. I think there will be very specialized agent for certain tasks or questions.
Yeah, that's right. I think this year, in China, there is a company named the DeepSeek.
Yeah, which.
It do make a lot of changes, and many OEMs actually they embrace AI as fast as they can, also including the tiers company together.
Yeah.
So we see their car become more and more intelligent. During your process of the data connecting and analysis, how do you do the software part or those software parts and those AI functions?
In the car or?
In the car?
Yeah, I mean, I think with software-defined vehicles, I mean, the software will get more and more an important part of the vehicle. I mean, even if some of the traditional OEMs are still struggling to go into that direction, but it will happen. And therefore, it will be more and more, let's say, that the software is driving the components, and that's something also where we are developing at the moment software and enhancing that, and we have a couple of good customers also in Asia and starting now in China in terms of our software analyze tool and helping the OEMs in terms of how long do you need to develop that, what are the costs to do that, what's the difference if you do it one way or the other.
Not the hardware anymore.
No, I mean, I think it's more software. I think the trick in the end is the hardware and the software together.
Yes.
Because if you decide for the wrong architecture, you are limited on the software side. I think that is what a lot of the Tesla and the Chinese OEMs did in the right way, that they designed the architecture from the beginning, how they want to have the software, and not the other way around. So that is something where we're also investing a lot, where we also see the trends going.
Besides software-defined vehicles, any other major trends you've seen happening right now?
Yeah, obviously, I mean, but that's no secret. I mean, it's electrification. I mean, and you see how fast it's going in China. I mean, we Germans are a bit more conservative. We need a bit longer until we are there, but you see the change now coming as well, and the infrastructure changing. And the other one is, I mean, autonomous driving or, I mean, assisted driving. And I think people understood it takes longer, it's more complex than they thought, but it's coming.
During the daily work of cars analysis, what's your comments on the competitiveness of Chinese OEM?
I mean, I'm just thinking, I think I worked the first time in China in 2005.
2005?
Yeah, it was GM.
20 years ago.
Yeah, or getting old.
Yeah.
And then I bought a software company in Beijing in 2012. And if you see these steps coming back in 2016, I mean, the last 5-6 years have been massive. I mean, I think China developed in the last 5 to 10 years from a fast follower to a really innovation leader. And I think where a few years ago some of the Western OEMs were not taking the Chinese OEMs too serious, now everybody is impressed about the speed of innovation and change and also rethinking concepts, and it's impressive.
How do you evaluate the China's function or value during this process to the electrification, autonomous driving, a lot of new innovation in the future?
I think that a lot of the innovation in the next, I mean, you need to be always careful with predictions like that, but I think in the next years a lot of the innovation will come from China. I think there will be then a trend where the other OEMs will transform themselves and will try to speed up, and some will make it. But I think there will be an interesting innovation battle between some OEMs and some Chinese OEMs, but I think at the moment I see the innovation in China.
A2MAC1 has been in China for 15 years.
Yeah, we had just our anniversary party in our teardown center.
Yeah, how's the business in China right now?
Very good. I mean, obviously. I mean, we have a big team here. It's one of our biggest teams in the world. And we are adding more and more capabilities locally, because if you want to do business in China, you need to be with the capabilities here.
Yeah, yeah.
And that will continue. And so for us, the China center is very important. And it's also interesting, a bit like you said with the Chinese OEMs. In the past, a lot of knowledge was going from our centers in France and in the US to China.
Yeah.
Now we have some global process leader in Shanghai who manage the rest of the world.
Yes.
So the world is changing.
When Chinese OEM go outside of China, how can A2MAC1 help them in what kind of aspects?
I think that is one point where we can help the OEMs a lot, because I mean, playing in their home ground in China, they know the market, they know the competitors, but I think what also just like BYD realized, fighting European OEMs in China is something else than fighting them in Europe.
Yes.
Suddenly you have different customer expectation, you have different legal regulations, and suddenly it's not so easy anymore. And you need to understand what are the constraints, what are the customers want, what they want to see. And I think also from engineering perspectives, and then there's an old joke, when Volkswagen was going to the US, they never figured out that in the US you need a cup holder for the Coke.
Oh, okay.
And in Germany nobody cares, or in Europe, but in the US, I mean, it's a no-go if you don't have a cup holder in. And I think that is something where we can help the OEMs and the suppliers a lot, how to do business outside of China.
If they want to succeed outside of China, any suggestions from you?
I mean, I think one is keep the innovation and reinventing yourself, but also you need to be very open-minded that you do business there, whether it's in Europe or in the US or in France or Germany, as it's done there. I mean, it's always, when I told my guys, if you do business in China, it's the Chinese way. Don't try to make business here the German way.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think it's the other way around as well. You need to learn, you need to be curious and understand how the business is done there.
Do as Romans do.
Yeah.
And in China, there is a saying, 到什么山上唱什么歌. It means that you should sing this song for local community.
Yeah.
It will help a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Since A2MAC1 covers a wide range of the cars globally, do you have any suggestion that some functions actually are necessary here, but not necessary in Europe, or some are just extra?
Which function would you mean in which?
For example, in China, the intelligence driving is so popular, but probably in Europe, it's not so necessary.
I think there's probably more expectation from Chinese consumers on some of this than in Europe, especially on, I mean, how digital the car is, the interaction with all the social media you have in China, and where it's very closely integrated, which might be a bit a challenge if you go to other countries.
Yeah.
But I think China is there perhaps a bit faster, but I don't think that the trends are very different. I think there you need to be also careful whether you ask my generation or my kids.
That's different.
Where my kids are probably
Yeah.
closer to, let's say, the mobile generation and closer to, let's say, a China way of what they would expect from a car. So I don't think it's too different by region.
If we're looking forward for the future, let's say future 10 years, from your perspective, what will be the key innovation field?
Like I said, was time-wise predictions, it's a
It's
dangerous topic, but I think the next few years, I mean 2, 3, 4 years, there will be a lot of focus on batteries.
Batteries.
And range, and having not the necessity anymore to have range extenders. But I think as the infrastructure will improve, as also the batteries, if you see the last 3 years how fast things going, I mean, if you're at 700-800 kilometers with one battery, I mean, range is not an issue anymore. And I think then it will go more and more into the, I mean, autonomous driving assistance, and I mean, that, I mean, I realize that myself with a car now, that I need to be very careful if I'm driving a different car, which has not the same level as a driving assistant, because I'm, what you shouldn't do, getting more and more on the mobile, you do other things. And I think these trends will then get more and more obvious that, that you do other things while you're in the car and you don't care anymore.
During the work of the A2MAC1's daily analysis, do you find the secret about how Chinese OEM can make their car equipped with not of high technology, but also cost efficiency?
I mean, I think that the Chinese OEMs are very cost efficient. So I think they are very good on that. I think through the competition they have in their own country, but also through the engineering depthness and the integration of their suppliers. So I think on the cost competitiveness they are already very good.
Anything you want to say to your customer in China?
Yeah, I mean, I think it will be a couple of very interesting, competitive, tough years in front of us, and we are there to help and to support and building partnerships where we can help each other to grow into the future.
Okay. Wish you a big success.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Patrick.
Thanks.